Good afternoon, everyone. I, Ankit, on behalf of NEN and Vadvani Foundation, would like to invite you all for this webinar and also introduce our expert, Vikas Verma. He is the founder and CEO at the Color Factory and an alumnus of St. Stephen's and FMS, Delhi University, a management professional with in-depth experience in consumer products, retail and IT media industries in key areas of sales, marketing, operations and logistics. In 25 years, he has acquired critical experience of handling a startup, setting the vision and agenda, and conceptualizing a business strategy and executing against it. He has 8 years of entrepreneurial experience in retail and IT industry. Before I hand over the floor to Vikas, a quick note to all our attendees. You will be on mute. You may ask questions by typing in the panel provided. Over to you, Vikas.
Thank you, Ankit. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to talk to you about, well, I'm going to share my experiences, not really talk to you. I'm going to share my experiences of how I turned an entrepreneur. Let me just get this slide going. Great. So, being an entrepreneur is something that a lot of us think about. A lot of us want to be entrepreneurs. It is something that others from the outside world see as something very glamorous. Being the master of your own destiny, having a company of your own, and you read stories about entrepreneurs who have made it big, who have created success stories, and you want to emulate the same. It sounds from the outside glamorous and all that, but there is a lot of blood, sweat, the occasional tear, and a lot of grind that goes into it. More than that, there is a lot of at times failure, setbacks. It's a lonely and a difficult journey, but it's a journey which is for those who commit themselves to a career as an entrepreneur is full of excitement and fun. But certain prerequisites that you must be aware of, that you need to contend with, is the fact that this journey will be full of setbacks. I know of no entrepreneur who has had a graph which is one success to the other. Most of the successes that we see around us are built on foundation of a number of failures from which they derive their learnings and continue down that path of an entrepreneurial journey to reach success. Just a couple of quotations which I thought were very apt to share with you in terms of being an entrepreneur is one. The first one is from Winston Churchill, who talked about success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And the other is Bill Cosby, who says, in order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure. Now, having said that, let me talk about myself and how my journey started and how I became an entrepreneur. The first brush that I really had with being an entrepreneur was, well, it happened by chance. I was in the middle of a career change, moving from being a sailor to coming ashore and starting a new career there, when my uncle, who was pretty much a seat of the pants entrepreneur and had come up the hard way, offered me a junior partnership in ancillary unit he was at that point in time setting up in the automobile industry. So I was thrown into the deep end of the entrepreneurial pool without any background in business. Learning to put together project reports, business plans, opening bank accounts, interacting with bankers for loans, poring over technical feasibility reports, and so on and so forth. For whatever reasons, that venture did not, get off the ground, and my entrepreneurial dream ended before it started. Well, not really ended. Well, I put it in one corner of my mind. I, at that point in time, then wisely decided, in hindsight, to go get myself an MBA and spend the next 2 years in a management school learning what business was all about. Now, that is not necessary for anyone who wants to be an MBA to be an entrepreneur to get an MBA, but in my case I did, coming as I was from a non-business and a non-corporate background. I think it gave me some kind of discipline in my life. But what it also did was, it took me more and more away from being an entrepreneur. What really happens with a lot of us is that we, come out of a business school, we get jobs with fancy salaries, and we settle down, and we have this comfort of a monthly check coming in, and life is very secure, and slowly the entrepreneurial dream begins to recede into a corner somewhere in your mind, and getting cobwebs all around it. Believe me, I was speaking last night to someone who has spent about 25 years in the corporate world as a corporate executive, is turning an entrepreneur, and he was saying the same thing. He says, because the security of a monthly paycheck as years go by and the check becomes fatter and fatter is such a strong exit barrier from the corporate sector, or an entry barrier into the corporate world. Quite often people ask me, what is the right time to become an entrepreneur? Should I look at being an entrepreneur as soon as I finish my postgraduate and my education? Should I wait to gather work experience for 3-4 years and then become an entrepreneur? My answer to such question is that there is never a right time to turn entrepreneur. It's a very individual thing. You need to be ready to be an entrepreneur. You need to believe in your dream. You need to want it passionately. And I think if that is the case, then any time is the right time to turn an entrepreneur. I'll give you an example. After my first brush with the entrepreneurship, which happened by chance, then some years later came another opportunity. I had been working for 4 or 5 years, and at that point in time I was working for a multinational company where my job became redundant, and I was given a golden handshake and asked to leave. I was probably one of the first cases in the country of a golden handshake, retrenchment, and things like that. Now, at that point in time, I was, for some reasons, for a few months, I found it difficult to get a job again, and I turned to the thought of being an entrepreneur. To be really honest, I wasn't ready for it. It was not something that I wanted to do at that point in time in life, and therefore, the attempt that I made to, put down my business idea on paper, to create a business plan, to get into the execution mode, were all half-hearted attempts, because mentally I didn't believe in it. There was no passion. And sure enough, a few months later came along a job opportunity, and I latched onto it, and I went back to the corporate career. So the point I'm trying to make is that there is never a right time. You need to be very clear that you believe in your dream, be passionate about it, and then any time is a good time. If you've decided that yes, you're going to be an entrepreneur, and you are very clear and you believe in it, I'm going to give you a few tips on preparing for that journey. And these are very practical tips that I have gathered over the years of being an entrepreneur myself, on a few occasions. Though I have gone back and forth, but eventually I am, at the end of the day, an entrepreneur at heart. What I call the PANT model for entrepreneurs. The P, which is plan, and then plan some more. The A, which is an angel to guide and mentor. The N. I'm going to talk about each of these in turn. So let me just quickly, take you on to the next slide. This was just setting the context. Okay, so Here you are, a few years out of business school, or perhaps any other postgraduate school, and you have thought of turning an entrepreneur. I have, believe it or not, come across people who have decided to turn entrepreneurs, have started doing things, but have actually no plan put down on paper. They have a vague idea of what they want to do. They start working towards it. My advice to all of you is that if you're really serious about being successful as an entrepreneur, one of the basic requirements is detailed planning down to the crossing your I's and T's and things like that. And when I'm talking about planning, I'm talking about work out your business idea, put in place how you will service the customer, why will the customer buy you, doing all those things that are required for a business plan. And what makes a good business plan is a topic for another day. But getting in place as detailed a business plan as you can, including financials. I remember the first business plan that I made for my first venture was so detailed that it even detailed the number of A4 sheets that would be used as stationery in the office on a daily basis, and costed them as part of admin expenses. I'm just giving an example. The investor we eventually convinced to invest in our company. One of the things that the investor fed back later was that we've never seen financial workings which are so detailed and comprehensive and take into account all scenarios. It just prepares you well. So spend a lot of time on detailing out your business plan, the financials, the idea, working out all details that a potential investor might be interested in, and that impresses them a lot, because that shows that you've done your homework and you have clearly planned out everything. But that is one part of it. I think the business part of it is easy for a lot of people with the relevant backgrounds to come up with that. One area where a lot of us fail to plan when we're wanting to turn entrepreneurs is at the personal level. What is going to happen? At some point in time, you will quit your job and your source of income will stop wherever you might be working, because you might moonlight in the initial stages of your venture when the idea is going, but at some point in time, you will have to stop, and then the money will. So have you planned for stoppage of income, for the cash flows that you get every month? My experience is that you need to start planning for at least 6 months of no income at all, because your business is not likely to generate cash enough from month one to be able to afford to pay you a salary. So therefore 6 months of no income. If you can plan for more, great. What you need to do is you need to estimate what given your lifestyle, what your monthly expenditure is, and plan, understand what your expenses will be for 6, 8, 9, 12 months that you want to build your piggy bank for. And before you turn an entrepreneur, in the run up to that, start putting aside money for that period when there will be no income. Of course, it is quite possible that you are not single, you're married and you have a partner who is earning well. That makes things easy for you. But despite that, I would still encourage people who are turning entrepreneurs to plan for that, how they're going to survive during those initial days when there is no income. That is one thing. The other thing is, a lot of us may not have the, may not be getting into entrepreneurial ventures which are big, which have money right from day one. So a lot of us get into bootstrapping ventures. So where you try to work in a scenario where you want to keep the costs minimum. So you need to plan where would you work from, what kind of an infrastructure you need, how many people would there be as part of the team, and therefore what kind of expenses would there be that you need to look at. Do you operate from home? Build a small corner in your home as the office. My advice and my experience is, unless you are a hugely disciplined person, avoid doing that. You may operate from a home. Don't operate from your home. Operate from take a space on rent in someone else's home and actually get ready every morning as if you're going to work, and go to that place which you call an office, as distinct from home. I am not a huge believer in the concept of small office, home office, unless you are a professional in like an artist or somebody like that who doesn't or a photographer or something. But if you're a business person, please make this distinction. I've seen many an entrepreneur who stumble into their so-called office in a pajama suit at 11 and start working on the comp and business planning and things like that. I don't think serious businesses that grow to be successes are built on foundations such as those. Always have a plan B. In Silicon Valley, most successful entrepreneurs that you would come across are those who've had a few failures behind them, and they've learned a lot from those failures. Failures there are celebrated and not something that are looked down upon. Have a plan B, because it is quite possible that your first attempt at being an entrepreneur may not be successful. What are you going to do if the plans that you've laid out are not coming to fruition when you get into the execution mode? Try to be flexible as far as possible. Don't fall in love so much with your business idea that you say, listen, it is this or nothing else. Be open to change, be open to reworking, be open to looking at different possibilities. Even in Color Factory, there were times when we experimented with a number of options when certain things were not working out. We realized that our retail model may not allow us to grow to a scale that we want to, because retail locations are expensive, and the rent revenue ratio given the retail rentals was not something which would allow us to earn high margins. So was there another way of providing our service to the customer, to our customers in some other way? And we developed basis that a new model where we started looking at an arts and craft outsourcing model at schools and educational institutions, which circumvented the rental problem that we had. So therefore, nothing is rigid, cast in stone. Be open to remodeling the entire business concept. If things are not going into plan, be flexible. The next very critical thing to my mind is an angel. Now, why do you need an angel? Everyone needs an angel. An angel is a person who will walk along with you on your entrepreneurial journey. Need not necessarily be an investor himself. It could, though typically it helps if the angel is a person who knows you well, who knows you personally, and has a stake in your business, has invested in your business. But to my mind, a good angel fulfills many roles apart from just giving you the initial startup funding to get going. More often than not, an angel is a person who knows you personally. Could be someone from your family. Hello. Could be someone who knows you personally. Could be someone from your family who's part of your family, or someone you work with. And that person, an angel, is one who's investing in your venture, not because of the business idea, but because of his belief in your ability as an entrepreneur, and not so much the uniqueness of your idea. He would typically invest small small amounts of money, and he plays the role of helping you prove your concept and grow it to a stage where it becomes, the proof of concept is established, and you can go on to then now start looking at expanding that and start talking to intermediate investors who will come in. The other ways of leveraging the angel is if you happen to be lucky enough to have an angel who has experience in the area where your venture is, then you can turn to him for guidance, for his experience in that industry. You could also use his network of contacts, and he could help you open doors. Talking about network, that's the third most important thing for a would-be entrepreneur, someone who wants to start on that journey, is to build a network of contacts. Where do you start? I think you should start early. I think even before the entrepreneurial idea has come to your mind, has taken shape, networking is something that you should begin doing straight away. It could begin in school, as early as school, college, where you become part of some informal networks, the alumni network, and things like that. Networking, to my mind, is one of the most critical tools in the toolkit of an entrepreneur. More things are done through the old boy network or your contacts than we care to admit. And someone who is able to network well has a huge advantage over an entrepreneur who is not able to do that. And if you do not have that skill, get that skill in your venture some way or the other. Either work at developing that skill yourself or ally yourself with someone who's a great networker. Today, life is easy because of technology. There are social media which allow us to be far more networked than ever before in life, whether it is professional networks like LinkedIn or social networks like Facebook, or even Twitter, Foursquare. You are, if there are techies in the audience, they would know it is such a huge advantage today that we have in terms of reaching out to people, in terms of networking. There are groups. There are virtual groups that I've mentioned. There are also physical groups in the physical world. There are industry bodies. There are bodies like FICCI. There are bodies like CII, and so on and so forth. These are industry bodies. There are private bodies. One example is the one that you're part of, which is the National Entrepreneur Network. How active you are within NEN and how much you network within this entire network is a sign of your networking ability. So cultivate it, nurture it, almost like a garden. Your network needs to be cultured and cultivated over a period of time, because that is a huge asset that you have with you. And finally, the team. In my experience, most of the time I've seen organizations or startups get funded. One key element that stands out across all of them is actually the team. In my experience, investors are far more comfortable investing in a good, strong team behind the idea, rather than in and with a average idea, rather than a great, unique, path-breaking, killer app kind of an idea with an ordinary team. However much technology may overtake us, the fact remains is that execution is done by people, and people come together to create successful enterprises only when there are a few things which work together. For example, they need to have a commonality of passion. They need to believe strongly in something to the extent of setting aside their own personal agendas and coming together with one passion. The team needs to, and this is, if you are the entrepreneurial driver for the organization, you need to ensure that these things happen. Diversity of skill. One is you need to have diverse skills, which are also complementary to each other. So I had a situation where there were two of us in a venture. My partner was hugely detail oriented, would go down to the lowest common denominator for each issue, chart it out and perfectly plan everything. Whereas there was another partner who was the big picture, strategic, long term. So the two of them together could take an idea, detail it out and work out a strategy very, very effectively, because they both brought diverse skills but complementary skills to the table. Third thing important, in the team is the aptitude versus the attitude kind of a thing. Normally when I'm hiring, and I'm not talking about employees only, it's also when you're looking out for partners for your venture, what do you focus on, aptitude or attitude? And this is an important distinction to make, because aptitude is something I can train some person for, but attitude is something which is inherent, and if you do not have the attitude to win, to deliver, to do things together as a team member, and that is something that I cannot ever provide. And then again, each member, while multitasking is important, to my mind, the ability to multi-skill is even more critical. And I'll give you an example from my organization of a person who was very good at managing customers at the front end on the shop floor, but didn't restrict himself over there. Started learning and displayed immense amount of skills, in other areas like the technology behind what we were doing, the creative art, art part of our business, and so on and so forth. And as a result of that, was able to add value to the entire enterprise much more than his position would, as the shop floor front-end person would allow him for. Now, if you can bring all of this together, and this is towards the end of your planning for the entrepreneurial venture. So you've planned your business, your personal finances, how you're going to operate the infrastructure. You have a angel who's mentoring and guiding you, who's helping you connect, who's helping you with some amount of funding and proof of concept. You have a network on which you can tap to open doors, to create opportunities for you, and you have a great team. If all these ingredients are together, your journey will be successful halfway, even before beginning. And happy to take questions. This is some brief introduction to how the factors that you should consider while planning your entrepreneurial journey. Thank you.